used to absorb their opponents by running them on their slate. Leo Glaber was such a, he ran against us and we brought him along and he was part of our team. You have to listen, and you have to listen respectfully. The other thing is, you can't talk about race anymore unless you have a diverse group. I don't like this audience. This is not a diverse group. Don't sit down and plan what you're going to do about them. That's what's wrong. You have to have all parties to the discussion present. I was encouraged by what I read in the Tribune when they were talking about race being the issue. They have the Oak Park High School School Board on their front page. And they said that the 4 white members of the board sat down with the 3 black members, and they realized they couldn't talk about the generation gap that they had. That isn't a generation, it's a racial gap, unless they first understood where they were on the subject of race. And that would have been a good discussion. I don't want the village board, I don't want VMA, I don't want any agency in Oak Park to talk about race without both parties there to say and talk what's on their heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a particular order for the trustees, or just as I printed them out? All right, then. You know, John Hedges is in the most difficult spot to get out, so we'll make John go first.
Thank you, Bob. So they do this to me. All through the campaign, I was the last guy. But then when you have to follow the heavy hitters, the people, they make me the first guy. Thanks a lot, guys. Well, seriously,
alphabetical order.
Okay, all right. Hale's not here, so I guess it's got to be. All right. Well, thank you all for coming, and it was a great time last year at this time, you know, for the 3 of us, or the 4 of us, to run and be elected. Not only just to be elected, but with the volume of the election and the number of votes that we got was great. When I got here today, Jim McClure came over and said, "Really glad that you ran for trustee." And I turned to him and said, "I'm really glad that you ran for president." And I was really serious, because that was such a formative time in Oak Park. And it was so important. And I think everything we do, and I keep that in my mind when we're making decisions on things that you don't necessarily think have to do with diversity and so forth. But the base is always there. Whether it's economic development or whether it's transportation or any of those things, that foundation is there and is very strong and is really important to us as we make the kind of difficult decisions that we have to make. When Gail said something, we were going to make a few remarks today, and diversity was a part of it. And I was thinking, well, you know, what would I say? And I know that Senator Obama's comments have been remarked on here a couple times today. And I was thinking, because I heard the speech when he gave it originally, and then I've heard a lot of the excerpts about it. And it's a wonderful speech, well written, and obviously well delivered. But I was thinking, why is it that I know it's all those things, but it didn't get me that excited? And I stopped to think, just today, it's because we're living that now. This is not something that is new to us. For most of what he said, this has been Oak Park for me for 27 years. And it just becomes so natural. I mean, it's a speech that's going to be quoted throughout history. But for Oak Park, I think we have truly lived that. And it's because of the McClures and the Carolyn Reeds and the Armstrongs and all the other people in this town who have really made this town the way it is and developed the again, the foundation in which we all work at. It's a real pleasure to serve and try to continue that momentum that's going on. So thank you all very much.
Alphabetically, Ray, you're up.
Good afternoon or evening, everyone. I was 5 years old living in rural Michigan when you and your families were leading on this issue. And I grew up in an all-white community, but moved to Austin Boulevard and have lived there since 1991, very happily. And it's because of your legacy and leadership from you and your families that we can appreciate the diversity of the community and the sound economic environment of the community, and a community that's valued at over $1.2 billion because of the work that you've done. I was the first openly gay man elected to the village board, so when we talk... So when we talk about diversity and how far we've come from 1968 and how we talk about sexual orientation and we talk about people with disabilities and we talk about economic issues that impact the community, this all goes back to 1968. And so we certainly celebrate those achievements, but I think we have to look forward too. And there's Mary Schmidt has a really interesting column in today's Tribune, because they're bringing junior and senior high school students together through the Chicago Metropolitan Planning Council to talk about what will Chicago look like in 2040. And that resonated with me. It's like, what will Oak Park look like in 2040? You know, the Housing Center for the first time is partnering with Berwyn, because we want to make sure we don't just look at this as an issue from an Oak Park perspective, but regionally. And if we're going to live up to the ideals of Senator Obama, and we rightly should, we need to talk about these issues regionally, but we also need to address the issues that are closer to home. And over the last several years, through OPRF and the NAACP, Martin Luther King Jr. speech contests, there's a consistent message from the first place winners, and that is the lunchroom remains segregated. So the black students and the white students and the Hispanic students and the Asian students aren't mixing it up. And so that requires leadership on our behalf. And I think you're right. We need to make sure we're out there not just welcoming people of diverse backgrounds, but celebrating that and trying to figure out ways to make sure we're all engaged. And when you go back to the regional issues, living on Austin and taking the Green Line, as I did yesterday, you see blighted blocks from the 60s that haven't changed. And so where's the political leadership to get those kinds of economic opportunities to that community? And the fact is, I'm very upset about this, and there doesn't seem to be regional outrage about this. 20 Chicago public students have been murdered this year, and it's only March. And so we have a lot of work to do. And we've come a long way, and we can celebrate our successes here, but we need to take that message to Springfield and to Washington, and we need to make sure we're doing the heavy lifting to build stronger bonds between all of us. Those are my thoughts on the issue, but thank you so much. And just to go back to what it was a year ago, we were in the midst of a campaign, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say what an honor it is to have the team back, because I was the last man standing for a while. And to serve with Jan Payton and John Hedges and John Hale and Ernest Moore, and frankly the whole board, the tone, the tenor, the efficiency of the board meetings has improved greatly, and we're actually getting to bed at a reasonable hour, which is nice. So thanks to all the hard work to get that done. We've got more work to do, and thank you.